You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. You know, when you see what's going on, and I have to open with this because this is really frustrating me. You know, we've all been threatened, and we've all been threatened in different ways, whether it's a Catholic church, whether it's a school, whether it's a temple. And when you see what's happening with these Islamic jihadists and you know, for the cause, going after a preschool, young childhood education program in a temple, or going after kids in an Austin bar, or an ROTC unit in Old Dominion University, you're thinking to yourself, what is their thinking? What is their logic? And as a Jew, we've always been aware that, you know, we need to ensure that there's security, and thank God for the security, you know, being able to stop the suspect yesterday in Michigan. And thank God for the ROTC cadet who neutralized the threat in Old Dominion University yesterday as well, or earlier this week. And then one of the guards with the Austin bar shooting. You're seeing these individuals, you know, and I know with September 11th we saw groups, but what you're doing is you're seeing individuals who have been radicalized or threatened, you know, at home, threatened by, I guess their jihad at home, who's telling them, look, you're gonna, you know, you're a terrorist cell. If you don't do this, we're gonna kill your family. And you have these lone individuals out there that are finding targets, either filling their vehicle with bombs and incendiary agents, bringing in weapons, getting a hold of weapons, and they're taking on a role where they think, if I get even one, I'm going to be martyred. And it's a very different. I'm not a shall we say a criminal investigator, but it's a very different type of criminal when you have individuals who are radicalized, who are say, I'm going to do this, say Allahu Akbar, which means God is great, and I'm going to go and kill whoever and then kill myself in the process. Then these groups who are planning and plotting, and even though the groups can do more harm, these groups are getting caught. And we always hear how America has been able to thwart, and our authorities have been able to thwart these terror attacks. But they're struggling with these single individuals. They're catching them. But unfortunately, you have these individuals that are able to get through because they don't communicate with others. They're just a single entity. They're a single person. They might have support. We're hearing that some individuals in the Muslim community that supported the suspect who rammed into a temple yesterday were supportive, but many people in the Muslim community do not support this. They don't want to be associated with that. So some of these single lone wolves don't necessarily have all the local support that you would think they would have. And so unfortunately, they'll carry out their attacks anyway. And you know, thank God some of them unsuccessful. Sadly, some of them are successful. But it's a much different fight from a first responder and from a investigator standpoint than these groups or cells that are actively working in groups, and then somebody is able to be an informant. It's a whole different dynamic, and so it's frightening because I think there's so many more. You know, you could say, well, we got Trinidad Aragua gang, we have this cell, we have this terrorist cell, we have this, and you think there's a fixed number. Once you have these lone wolves, it could be infinite. And so let's, I want to, go through these. I know the segment is coming up, but unfortunately, like what happened with Old Dominion. The shooter shouted Allahu Akbar after killing an ROTC instructor and injuring two others. Now, Jallo, his name is Mohammed Baylor Jallo. He busted into the ROTC classroom at the Virginia College, Old Dominion, and yelled the phrase, opens fire, and he kills a retired military officer and injures two others. This is according to FBI Special Agent Dominic Evans and reported by New York Post. So the FBI said they're investigating it as an act of terrorism. It took a lot of, I guess the media really delayed, admitting that it was an act of terrorism, but this is an act of terrorism, okay? Not sure how many students were in the classroom, but a cadet was able to stop him. He was neutralized by a cadet who stood up and and the other students as well showed bravery and courage. They contained the shooter, and it was a frightening scene. Apparently, Jallo was a naturalized U.S. citizen from Sierra Leone. So naturalized citizens, come here legally, go through the process. I think most naturalized citizens are able to vote, and they become a naturalized citizen. They become an American. Why would he want to become an American if he just wants to kill him, unless it was a plant? And so we need to look back as to what was that process. Why was he not vetted better? What should have been done on our end, and who else maybe came in with him. So there's clues, even with these lone wolves, there's clues, because when you look back as to when he came and when he started his naturalization process, who else did? What in the time frame, who sent him? Or was this somebody who was like, you know what? I'm looking around and I'm thinking, and I don't like the ROTC, and I'm going to decide to be a random killer. Obviously we need to know more. We need, was there a manifesto? What do we know? But, and we're going to talk about the temple issue in a second here. But, I am really amazed at how we have such a attitude in America of, it was a one-time thing because it was a single person. It's not a one-time thing. This is going to continue to happen. And this isn't just because of Iran. Okay, we've had these individuals do this despite, what's going on in the Middle East. So understand that these individuals are just as dangerous as having groups. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Don't go away.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
We're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So, you want to bring it? You want to bring it? Bring it. We Jews are ready. For any of you thinking, what is it? FAFO? We're ready. And I am so grateful for this armed guard at this temple in Michigan, one of the largest temples, Temple Israel, to be able to stop the suspect who drove a truck full of explosives down the hall of a temple where there was a preschool and school going on. And the armed guard was able to stop him. From what I understand, the truck did engulf in flames because there were explosives. From what we understand, none of the children got hurt. A lot of the first responders did have to get treated for smoke inhalation, and we're still getting more updates on that. But we're ready. I mean, temples all across the nation have been, for years preparing. But with everything going on, it is now standard. Now, all our dues have gone up. We're hearing, with camps and things like that, there's always extra security fees. And we Jews are happy to pay for them. We are, it's a shame that some temples don't allow CCW, but a lot are now. And there's a lot of facilities saying, you want to protect yourself and protect others, we're all welcome. You're welcome here for that. And so for you thinking, well, you know what, that temple, nobody's going to be armed. Think again, because there's a lot of synagogues out there saying you have a CCW, we welcome you. That's fine. Because it's a different world now, and after the Holocaust, the big question that many kids had when I was listening to what happened with my grandparents and things like that was, why wasn't it possible to fight back? How did you get, I understand the Nazis were pulling, you'd see the movies where they would take your guns. They would, you could only do so much if a, machine gun is at your head. But, how were Jews, there were millions of them, not able to turn around and fight back? Well, the Nazis were brilliant in knowing how to separate, divide, and conquer, and act on their fears. And even though many of the fathers and mothers are like, oh, no, you're going to take me down if you even try, having their kid at risk, put many of them at vulnerabilities where they couldn't fight back. Well, Jews watching what happened with the Holocaust are like, oh, hell no, this isn't going to happen again. And unfortunately, what we saw with the Hamas attack in October 2023 was the terrorists decided to go after the peaceful areas. So they went after a peace conference. They went after a kibbutz, where it's like communal farming and children in school and people growing crops and they went after an area where they didn't think people were going to fight back, and it's frightening. And in fact, people in Israel are like, let us carry. We were all trained in the military. Yeah, we know what to do. We know how to, let us get on this. And so I understand that there's many individuals out there that want Israel off the face of this earth. I mean, that's what this from the river to the sea is a call for Israel to be annihilated and off the face of this earth. And we just talked about how many of these sleeper cells or these, single individuals working alone, they might be working with the mothership, but they're acting alone, can be just as dangerous as groups of individuals, and even more dangerous because they can spread out. And, many people will see somebody walking, although in the Austin shooter, he, was, pretty apparent in public, but, the threats not only are going to be rising now, but I think they're always going to be there. One thing I think the Hamas attack showed was it uncovered and highlighted, how anti-Semitism and hatred of Israel, never went away. There are always going to be individuals out there that want to kill innocent people and behead babies and burn. They were throwing babies in ovens in 2023. This sort of behavior never goes away. I wish it did. But they're sick, disgusting individuals. And so this sick, disgusting individual at, I believe this was 12:19 p.m., rams his truck through the entrance of Michigan's largest Reformed synagogue. As we talked about Reformed yesterday, you have the Orthodox, which is very, very strict. You have the conservative, which is semi-strict, but not as liberal as like Reformed. And then the Reformed temples many times are very, very large. In Judaism, we welcome anybody. And so many people feel like, well, I can't do the strictness of the Orthodox, and the conservatives have rules that may not apply to them, and they may feel more at home with the Reformed. And so I belong to a conservative temple. I've always been that, but it's not conservative or liberal in terms of politics. It's just in terms of the degree of piousness and following, the laws. Are you keeping kosher? Are you, going to temple? Are you doing the minyans, mikvahs, things like that? And so it's one of the largest, synagogues in Michigan. And so this piece of crap drives the car down the hall, and many of these temples will have halls. Synagogue security was there, opened fire at him. Good job. Temple sadly did become engulfed in flames because the vehicle still ignited. I'm not sure how fast the driver was going, but it was obvious what the driver was trying to do. Thank God nobody was in that hall. The children weren't there. And Temple Israel employee described hiding in an office with coworkers, hearing screams, smoke, what sounded like gunshots, and really, really grateful for the armed guards. And so he was Aman Mohammed Ghazali. Now, why did he do this? Who was he? Well, apparently he came to the United States in 2011. And then I believe he started down the naturalization process in 2015. He got divorced in 2024. Now, apparently the divorce documents have been sealed, so we don't know entirely what happened with the divorce. And then I believe family members claimed that some of his family had been killed in Lebanon after an Israeli airstrike. So whether that was the inciting event, or was he always here hoping to attack? Obviously this took some time to plan. And so my guess is this has been brewing for a while. And, he felt that, okay, I'm going to take down the biggest temple, and thank God for the armed security guards. And this hate that Jews are always feeling, where, it's new for a lot of them who are younger and who, heard stories of the Holocaust and heard how people wanted to kill you for who you were, but they were pretty protected in the last few decades. They're now seeing that now. And to see young Jewish people going, someone wants to kill me or rape me or behead me because I'm a Jew. I'm a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and people who are Muslim are descendants of Abraham as well. I really, Jesus was a Jew. I mean, what's going on here? And so and sadly, it's a big lesson, for anybody who has been who has never been a victim of hate or discrimination is now seeing that. And we have to be very, very vigilant. There's going to be a lot of extra, shall we say, security needed. I know a lot of temples and facilities, churches are upping their security. I think they should, especially after the Minneapolis shooter. Why? Because there are individuals that don't give a damn about people in prayer. I mean, look at what happened with the ICE demonstrations, where a church was just trying to go through their service, but the demonstrators felt like them praying was an attack on them and not in support of like you should be at a protest than in prayer. I mean, come on. What if somebody was paying for the protesters? So people just want to hate. I know they're anti-religion. They just want to be anti-something. And for those individuals who go, you know what, I'm good. I'm not Jewish. I'm going to be in the clear so I could go to church on Sunday. Be vigilant, because these idiots, these jihadists, Islamic jihadists who want evil, they look at Americans the same. They look at Western countries the same. They look at other religions, and so don't feel that you're going to be in the clear, if you're not circumcised, or if you're, no, I think we're all at risk. So In terms of security and in terms of, we know there's been a huge now uptick in people who want to get trained, do their CCW, be able to arm themselves. I'm a huge fan of that. I believe you have every right to protect you and your family, knowing that there's people out there that want you dead. I mean, look at how you saw your college campuses. College students saw their fellow college classmates say from the river to the sea. And even though the media is like, well, some of them don't really know what the river to the sea means, they know. They know. And so when you feel like your own fellow Americans, whether they're naturalized citizens or not, want to kill you, you should protect yourself. And we should do a much better job of figuring out how the hell terrorists are getting citizenship. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
And we're back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So over the past 2 decades, we have seen a huge spike in clinics offering IV rehydration, hangover cures, vitamin infusions, and I saw some risks right away. There was, I believe, a van or a bus that would drive up and down the Las Vegas Strip saying, are you hungover? Hop in. We'll give you a banana bag, some potassium, fluids, give you something for nausea. And it was pretty popular. And people were the company was making some good money on it. And people were all happy. And they're like, yeah, and I think it was pretty expensive for individuals. But they ride around in the morning and they said, hey, do you need a hangover cure? Come in. And we used to do that in medical school and in the ER where you would get a banana bag. I never needed one because I never drank. I never had time to drink nor the money to drink. But you would be in the ER and get a banana bag where you'd get infused vitamins and fluids and then be able to kind of overcome that hangover. Why? Because a lot of the hangover symptoms is that you're dehydrated, that you have lack of nutrients, you're nauseated because of all the trauma the alcohol caused on your GI gut system or because you were throwing up. And so after that, many, I guess, boutique medical clinics have been offering these IV solutions and these IV out of the medical office, come to your home, or you could come to our boutique clinic to get IV therapy and get things infused. Well, apparently a nurse died. This was, I believe, back in, was it 2015? A nurse, Stephanie, this was 2018. She was, I guess, wanted IV selenium. Now, selenium is an antioxidant. We use it for burn care. We use it for people with severe chronic disease. But apparently this, I guess, company advertised that we'll give you selenium. And unfortunately, she died. I think she died from an overdose. According to Jones Health Law, They said it's unclear whether the fault lied with the manufacturer and the batch of products, the individual administering the products, or the lack of established procedures in the event of an emergency. But liability was never determined in this case. The case ended up getting settled out of court. However, in Florida, they introduced House Bill 725. So the act defines IV hydration therapy as a procedure in which high concentrations of vitamins and minerals are administered directly into a patient's bloodstream. IV means intravenous, allowing rapid absorption of higher doses of vitamins and minerals than if received through food and supplements. And so the rule seeks to require Board of Nursing to clearly define procedures to safely administer such treatments, educate those getting the treatments, inform consent. What are the protocols if somebody goes into a tachyarrhythmia or something, or a bradycardia or any sort of arrhythmia because of it? And so I guess the act was passed. And the IV hydration therapy trend, I believe the market, according to communitynewspapers.com, has generated more than $1.1 billion in 2025 and projected to exceed $2.1 billion. So you have a lot of these mobile IV services, and they say that the mobile IV therapy market has been estimated at about 568 million, projected to be about 1 billion in 2030. Now, where I don't have a problem with these mobile IVs is oftentimes I have people with norovirus, rotavirus, acute gastroenteritis, and they become extremely dehydrated. And so in the urgent care or ER, we would give you IV fluids and you would feel better immediately. And now that we are moving away towards people going to the medical clinic to get seen and people want to do things at home, we're seeing this huge demand of, well, come to my house. It's interesting because the house calls are coming back because since COVID, people don't want to leave their house. Even though they're not really fearful of COVID, they're like, I just don't want to go into a clinic anymore. That's just not what we do. Well, that's what we always did. You went to the doctor. You went to their clinic in the last century or two, but nope, now it's, no, come to me. And many people do need fluids. They do need IV fluids. And one of the things we do at urgent care is we'll give you IV fluid. But another thing we'll do, however, which gets missed by a mobile company, is the exam and figuring out, well, why are you feeling ill? You know, are you feeling ill and have you been vomiting or throwing up because you have appendicitis? Or your child has intussusception, like a telescoping of the bowel? Is it because you have a kidney infection? You know, is it what else is going on? Now, under Florida law, IV hydration therapy is considered a medical procedure. The services have to be performed under the supervision of a licensed physician. Now, every state has their own laws, but I believe the majority of states ensure that IV therapy is doctor supervised. That might change. There's a lot of push for autonomy by nurses. I love nurses. I think they know what they're doing. They're fantastic. They've saved patients' lives when medical students were stumbling. I'm really grateful. They're the backbone of the healthcare system. However, when you under law have the supervision of a licensed physician, that means that licensed physician's butt is now on the line. And they do that so that now you have more people involved to ensure that nothing, illegitimate is happening, and to ensure that, there's somebody that can also be there that may have the training to handle emergencies. So I'm not sure how this nurse died with the selenium. They say it was an overdose of selenium that caused it. So I'm assuming it might have put her in an abnormal heart rhythm. But the hydration industry is a big one. And I've seen people go into it. I've seen bad things happen. I've seen board censorship. It's something I have never considered because I fear that people are going to not necessarily get all the other aspects they need. Like if I'm going to be giving you an IV, in a trauma setting, we're opening access, we're giving you're becoming hypovolemic. But when you're kind of semi-healthy and you're not losing volume, are your kidneys okay? How do I know what levels of saline I should give you? Do you need dextrose, sugar? I mean, the IV, there's millions of different IV therapies. I mean, there's millions of different compositions. How do I know what I need to give you? And I understand maybe the average young 20-year-old could do okay with a regular banana bag, but we still, ensure that we're not giving you the wrong thing, the wrong amount, and the wrong components. Now, if that's what they're doing on these buses or these at home, that's great. But the other risk you have is you're now having somebody access your veins. If they're not doing it under, perfect aseptic technique, now you could get an infection in your bloodstream. It's pretty dangerous. I'm also getting a lot of patients calling up having swelling of the arm and clots because something happened with the administration. Now, it could happen. Sometimes you could miss a vein. Sometimes the needle could poke through. Sometimes you could get some bleeding. But when I see somebody whose extremity is starting to swell and they're able to feel masses, they're clotting, that it could cause a dangerous blood clot. So I'm not trying to be critical of this and tell you not to do it. But I'm old school going, let, a medical professional evaluate you, have the nurses do it in the urgent care setting or the ER setting, but we are going to see medicine move this way where you're going to call somebody, they're going to come to your house, check your urine, or you'll be able to do at-home urine tests or at-home blood tests. They'll come and administer the IV for you. There's this big push to make your home a home hospital. And I'm not opposed to that because people get sick in the hospital. And it would be nice for people to be at home. I think many of them can have the potential of getting better quicker. But make sure whoever's doing this, is legit. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Dahlia. As many of you know, I lost another colleague to suicide. And tragically, tens of thousands of Americans, including hundreds of physicians, take their lives each year. Why is suicide so common? Why doctors? Even medical students have alarming suicide rates. Nurse burnout is at an all-time high. Maybe it's the monstrous workloads we face every day. Maybe it's because of burnout, malpractice suits, online reviews. Medicine has changed so rapidly that it's almost unrecognizable to those of us who entered this field and wanted to take it by storm. But there's not a lot of resources out there for healthcare providers who deny that they are struggling or at risk. So my book, The Depressed Doctor, aims to change that for both the physician and medical student and anyone else who is struggling. Find The Depressed Doctor on Amazon or at drdahlia.com. And if you are currently struggling, call or text 988, the National Suicide Prevention and Crisis Hotline. Don't wait. The silence is killing us.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. We knew this was coming. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, I don't know if the term for it is punked or what the term is where you're on social media and there's an adorable video of a cat or there's something really, really cute with a penguin and then you share it And you're like, oh my gosh, look how amazing this videographer was able to capture this moment with a penguin or a kitty cat. It's so adorable. And then all of a sudden somebody will write, Dr. Dahlia, that's fake. Is it? Yeah, it's AI. So I'm like, well, darn, I really, really thought that penguin was, on a surfboard or whatever it was. And then I'll see something else. And I'm looking at it, I go, well, it looks real to me. People are sharing this. It must be real. I share it again. Somebody else is like, I think that was AI generated again. So I've been not sharing a lot of videos and things lately because I just don't know how fake things are. Unfortunately, it's more serious than what's going on with social media. Unfortunately, many of us are watching what's happening in the Middle East, and you're seeing buildings on fire. You're seeing all this devastation. Well, this is what Israel did to us. This is what America did to us. And apparently, you're going to have to use that same savviness with these images. The CNN and The Guardian, everybody's reporting. There are tons of fake videos out there. If AI, we've known this for a while. I mean, all this deep fake or these videos where it looks like Tom Cruise is saying something or the president is saying something, and we've already known about the danger of that. But, we're in a war with Iran. We're trying to free tens of thousands of Iranians, stop their nuclear threat and their decades-long war with America and attacking Americans and our soldiers. And now you're having people go, no, look at what they're doing. Look at that building. Look at what they're doing. They're killing. And you're like, but this is AI generated. It's fake. I don't like where things are going because, as we spoke about with kids, remember I told you about that Alexa? For those of you that might not have listened the last day or two to the show, I don't blame you. It happens. I get it. You didn't need to fall asleep. I get that. There was a mom who was, I guess, cooking, working in the kitchen, and the little girl asked the Alexa to read me a story or tell me a funny story, silly story. So the Alexa gave her a funny story. Then the kid goes, can I tell you a silly story? Alexa's like, sure. So now the kid tells Alexa the silly story, and Alexa interrupts her saying, are you wearing pants? What, can I see your pants? What? The girl's like, I'm wearing a skirt. The mom's like, what? What's going on with this? And the mom's like, guys, get your Alexas, get all this tech out of your house. This is creepy stuff. And, and I talked about how with kids, that's pretty frightening, especially, when you're going through a world of, okay, whatever you're seeing, is it real? One of the issues we're having with kids and social media is they're looking at pictures of their friends and filters and all that. And they're thinking, oh my gosh, she looks so skinny. She looks so good. I don't look like that. Well, yeah, there's filters, and you can now like erase and change. There's so many things you could do to a picture. I fooled around with an AI image when UFC was playing, or when we had a UFC fight last week, and I loved what I used. Grok. Everybody said, oh, you guys, you got to use Grok. Grok makes some good images. I liked what it did. I loved how it did my makeup, how it did my cheekbones. I was like, okay, I need Grok to be my stylist. But it's fake. I don't look like that. And I mean, everybody can tell it's fake because everybody knows what I look like because I'm on TV and stuff. But these kids keep getting this imagery and getting these ideas, and they're being fed fake stuff. And then who's taking the fake video off? Well, I think it's on Twitter or X. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. The onus is on them to tell everybody these are fake images. These are AI generated. And it should be fairly easy to be able to analyze that and screen that. But the problem people are having is there's so much video editing these days that if there are these little cues that these computers are they may not be able to pick up, well, this is completely AI generated or not. And so you may be using like a real video, add something to it, and it might not get picked up by the platform. And so there should be these warnings on everything saying AI generated. And how do you tell if it's AI generated? Well, one thing I noticed with some of these pictures is the background may be a little blurred, or there might be, and I understand people do things, with the focus, and you can do the portrait mode, and I get that, but sometimes the image just doesn't make sense. And if you're looking at going, well, that's kind of odd. You see the man, but his hand is like this. That could be an AI image. So you really want to scrutinize the non-focused part. Like, for example, I saw this video of a building in Dubai on fire. And you could tell it's fake because the cars were just driving next to it like, same old, same old. Okay, if there's a building on fire and you're thinking it's going to crash, you're going to be looking up at that building. You're going to be either getting the hell away from that building so it doesn't crash. There's going to be first responders. There's going to be barriers. I mean, you're telling me none of these cars saw that fire? So, sometimes, sorry, my nose is running. Sometimes it's easy, to tell. But with a lot of these things, people are they look at it. They're like, oh my gosh, look at the devastation. Oh, look at this. This is and they don't know what to believe. They were, really? That was a real picture? And I'm like, I finally take a good picture. And nobody notices. I can't get credit. Come on, man. And so it's a concern where now nobody believes you. Nobody, we went through this with the Me Too movement. You have millions of women who have been assaulted, but you also have now thousands of women who faked it or who claim they were assaulted when they weren't. And so now the average woman who says, look, I got assaulted, somebody looks at that with a raised eyebrow going, really? You mean I got to relive it for you? I got to show you proof? And so, unfortunately, these people are really ruining it for the rest of us. And I'm very frustrated because something like the Iran war, we can't be dinking around. We need to know what's going on. And seeing these images luckily some of these, it looks like you're seeing stuff out of a movie. I'll try to post some of these things, and I'll try to look a little deeper to teach you guys how to, be able to figure it out. The problem is AI is getting smarter. And so AI is figuring out how to look more real. So they are going to fix the periphery. They are going to find anomalies and fix those. So you got to do your fact checking. And I know people are very visual, so they want to be on social media and see the videos and share the videos. But I learned my lesson. Once I saw, that wasn't real, I'm not going to share anything that's AI generated. Unless, of course, I'm trying to make myself look better. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA1. That's 800-JBS-USA1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.